Welcome to Brevis Talk. The talks you are about to hear will be honest, revealing, and unfiltered. Join us as your host, Pastor Wayne Whiteside, lifts the lid of silence and has conversations about mental illness and health in the church. The goal here is simple. It is to help someone along this journey of life who is struggling. It is to tell the truth to the unsuspecting. And it is to lighten the load of a fellow traveler. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to serve as medical advice or to replace consultation with your physician or mental health professional. If you are experiencing a medical crisis, call 911 or go to the nearest emergency room. Now, here's your host, Pastor Wayne.
Hello, we're here for another Brevis Talk, and you can reach us at brevistalk.com. I want to talk to you today about a tale of two old men. There is a place that it's going to surprise you, but it's almost hallowed ground to me. Much ministry has been done in a particular maximum security prison and a particular barrack. Let me explain what a barrack is, or at least what this barrack was. On the first floor, there are 24 cells. The second and the third, again, 24 cells, for a total of 72. I don't remember ever having them all occupied, all full to capacity. But I do remember so many visits. I was cursed by one inmate. I was thanked by another. I prayed with. I cried with. I read the Bible to. I studied the Bible with. I prayed with those to receive Christ. And on I could go, those stories, those experiences in this maximum security prison. Ironically enough, the two oldest men in this prison were in the first and the second cell. As I walked through that door, that sliding door, immediately to my right was the first cell, then the second cell, and then on and on. The two oldest men were there, Charlie and Daryl. They were lifers, they were killers, life without parole. And Charlie, somewhere around 70 years of age, had spent a great deal more than half his life in prison. Charlie's mind was deteriorating. Charlie was not stable mentally. He had he heard things, he spoke out. As a matter of fact, when I would visit with him, the other men would just celebrate, because Charlie was not unlikely on any given day not to scream and shout at the top of his lungs, yes, anywhere from 2 to 6 hours nonstop. Charlie and I had a connection of sorts, and I would talk to Charlie, and I never know what I was going to get. Charlie was sometimes medicated and sleepy. Sometimes he was hyper and animated. But Charlie and I had some interesting visits. I do believe with all my heart that Charlie was a Christian. He was a troubled soul. The devil used him much of his life, and he was tormented. Charlie died a few years ago. One day Charlie told me, you'll remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of California, and one of the roles he played in one of his movies was the Terminator. And Charlie told me he had great joy in his heart. He said, I'm getting out of prison. I said, no, Charlie, I hadn't heard that. I said, tell me, what's going on there? And he said, well, the Terminator, the governor Terminator, is going to break me out. And Charlie had what little property he had packed in a neat little corner there. And he said, when he takes me, he said, I'm ready. I've got my stuff ready. That's the kind of mind that Charlie had. Well, you say you can't comprehend that. Well, I bet you enjoy the song, There Is a Fountain, filled with blood drawn from Emmanuel's veins, where sinners plunge beneath that flood and lose all their guilty stains. William Cowper was a human instrument from whence we get that song. William Cowper had a mind that was broken. He was put in an insane asylum, and was troubled all of his life. He had moments of clarity, times and seasons of clarity, and then he would fall back into a deep depression, probably a psychotic depression. Oh, friend, be merciful to those whose minds are broken. Be kind. Be gentle. Well, be like Jesus. Then there was Daryl. Daryl's the next door neighbor. Charlie's probably about 5'11". Daryl was about 5'5", really thin. He was 70-plus years of age. And Daryl was a dangerous man. Daryl talked to me. He was very social. He laughed. He told me jokes, and we seemed to get along real good, well. But I never, ever trusted Daryl. I always thought in those eyes that I saw venom. Daryl was a conniver. He was a liar. He was a cheat, and everything else you can think of. Daryl died a few years ago. Daryl, in his incarceration, fought diabetes, lost a leg, fought cancer twice, had open heart surgery, and the maladies and the illnesses go on and on. None of this humbled Daryl. He was defiant. He was bitter. He was a calloused man on the inside. When you got to see the real Daryl behind the facade of laughter and social endeavors, Daryl had a dark soul. Daryl never repented, as far as I know. And so there's the tale of two stories. Charlie with a broken mind, Charlie troubled, Charlie tormented in this life, a killer. But Charlie had called on Jesus Christ to save his soul. And then Daryl, defiant, rebellious, stiff-necked, to the bitter end. The tale of two old men.
And that concludes our broadcast today. Please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, check us out at our Facebook page or at brevistalk.com and take a look at our blog. And remember, be kind. Always be kind.